Iran gets slapped down after opening fire, launching one-way attack drones over the Strait of Hormuz, and CENTCOM just knocking them down, along with a launcher and a control center, as military hostilities threaten these fragile peace talks that we're in. We take you to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino. Good morning.
Hello to you. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning at home. U.S. Central Command calling today's actions measured, defensive, and intended to maintain the ceasefire. Iran also launching a ballistic missile toward Kuwait, which hosts a U.S. military base, one of 5 actually in that country. CENTCOM confirming Kuwaiti forces successfully intercepted that Iranian missile. And the new strikes coming hours after President Trump waved off an Iranian report of a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, with Iran and Oman jointly managing traffic.
Nobody's going to control it. We're going to watch over it. We'll watch over it, but nobody's going to control it. That's part of the negotiation that we have. They would like to control it. Nobody's going to control it. It's international waters, and Oman will behave just like everybody else, so we'll have to blow them up. They understand that. They'll be fine.
Hey, Jeff Paul begins a new hour for us live in Dubai, reporting again today. And Jeff, hello there.
Hey, Bill, tensions here in the Gulf are running high as we wait for any sort of developments regarding a potential peace deal between the U.S. and Iran. This latest skirmish and escalation now casting more doubt about the success of these ongoing talks. Now, here's what we know about what happened over the last 24 hours. U.S. officials confirmed its forces shot down 5 attack drones near the Strait of Hormuz and also hit a ground control station as a 6th drone was about to launch from Bandar Abbas. The strikes are being described as purely defensive and intended to maintain the ceasefire. The IRGC says it's retaliated by attacking a U.S. airbase. Officials in Kuwait confirmed they faced a missile and drone attack today. U.S. CENTCOM adding that it, along with regional partners, remain vigilant and measured as they continue to defend its forces and interests from unjustified Iranian aggression. Now, despite the escalation, the ceasefire remains intact as President Trump says they're still working to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. But he also seemingly put another Gulf country on notice concerning the freedom of navigation. Trump saying no one will control the strait, including Oman. He says they'll behave just like everybody else or we'll have to blow them up. Trump also emphasizing that Iran still wants to make a deal as talks continue.
Well, I think we're doing very well. I think they're starting to give us the things that they have to give us. And if they do, that's great. And if they won't, then the man on my left is going to finish them off.
Now, Oman has not responded to President Trump's comments. Meanwhile, back here in the UAE, they did call the recent attack in Kuwait a terrorist attack. Bill?
Okay, Jeff Paul from Dubai, thank you for that. Dana?
Well, for more on this, let's bring in retired Colonel Mike Jernigan. He's a former Iraqi invasion battalion commander, and it's great to have you. Marco Rubio had some thoughts as well in the cabinet meeting. Let's listen to him here.
I just want to remind everybody, Mr. President, you know this well, you have other options available to you if that doesn't work. But the bottom line is that we prefer the negotiated diplomatic route, and we're going to give it every chance to succeed. You know, you're giving it every chance to succeed, Mr. President. But here's the bottom line, because I keep getting asked, what is this all about? It's very simple. Iran and these people in charge of Iran can never have a nuclear weapon.
Colonel, it would be wild to imagine that Iran doesn't believe that President Trump would be willing to go back to use military force, because that signal has been loud and clear since over the weekend when they were suggesting a peace deal could be at hand. But if not, there are options. Do you think that they fully understand what the United States position is here?
Good morning, Dana. Good morning, Bill. I think there's 2 audiences, and I think that your point that they don't understand is the majority. If there's no internet access, no freedom of media, no foreign journalists in Iran, then all of the Iran media is speaking to their local audience. And so they're talking to make themselves appear bigger and to make themselves appear that they're an effective government and give people the opportunity to overlook that they're unemployed and their money is worthless. So that's one audience. The second audience is all of the leaders in Iran. And those leaders know exactly what will happen next once the U.S. begins kinetic strikes again and further economic actions.
So, Colonel, on that point, is it your belief that these Iranian drones that are being fired, does that order come from the top? Or are these members of the IRGC that are just renegades on their own?
I think at the beginning of this operation, the Iranians put out localized command and control of the various forces, meaning that they allowed individual commanders of the various sites to launch drones and missiles. They allowed them to have the independent authority to launch their own targets. We saw that with striking the 6 countries in the area, and we've seen that with the drones. And so I do think that the IRGC may not be in complete control because we've severed their communications across the country. So this is probably a little bit of both. It's probably the larger Iranian government trying to show that it has some teeth and that to its own people. And then at the same time, you probably have independent local commanders operating on their own authority. And what happens when you operate on your own authority and you launch a ballistic missile, then your ballistic missile launcher gets blown up.
General Jack Keane was on with Martha yesterday. Watch here.
Is the Straits of Hormuz critical for Iran? Listen, this is a new achievement they have. They've never been able to achieve before. They are going to reluctantly let go of this, and they certainly want to be able to return to it at a time of their choosing. And I could see us down the road having to take it away from them physically if they chose to impose their will on the Straits again years from now, assuming we have some kind of a deal here.
Does Iran have some strange new respect from the Gulf allies looking at this, saying they absolutely need the Strait of Hormuz open for their own commerce, and Iran had never done this before, and no wonder they would be reluctant to give it up?
Yeah, I agree completely with General Keane. They have been saying that they will control the Straits for years. They've been saying that they want to do it. They've been saying that, but they had never actually taken action. And I remind the viewers that the Lloyd's of London and other insurance companies sitting in London are the ones that have closed the Strait. U.S. warships run up and down the Strait, and they don't find mines. We found 2 ships this weekend laying mines, and we blew them up. And so the insurance companies are saying, for the money, if you go through this blockade, we will not fund your insurance. And that's significant. And so the Iranians, regarding your question about the local countries, I believe the Arab nations around Iran are frustrated and ready for change.
Yeah. Listen, I see these day-to-day tit-to-tat. I mean, it creates more challenges for CENTCOM and how you respond, how you do it appropriately. And then you wait for a reaction on behalf of the Iranians. And a lot of times they just back away. So the point that you made at the beginning is very important to keep in mind, that the IRGC, they sent the orders out early in this campaign to do what you think is right at that time. And I tell you, Colonel, I think that's just a really challenging theater to operate in because at any moment, anything can go sideways. Just last comment on that, Colonel.
Absolutely. It is a challenging theater operating, but the United States military and CENTCOM's leadership is well equipped and well trained to do this. And so I think that I remember that the ceasefire was a convenience for the United States to bring Iran to the negotiating table. So let's see what they do.
Okay, Colonel.
Great to see you this morning. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.